Hello everyone, Mike Corso here. I'm the original bass player and one of the founding members of the band God Bullies. I'm making this video in order to set the record straight about the fake God Bully album, As Above, So Below. I've titled this video God Bullies versus the Thrall Bullies, the co-opting of a rock band's legacy. It's a rockumentary. Because what this new fake God Bullies album consists of is actually Mike Hard and members of his long-time struggling band Thrall and nothing more. Now, Mike Hard and Scott Kodrick are out doing interviews, spewing what I call is the big lie. And we're going to get into some of the lies they're telling. Yes, stick around. This is going to be interesting because we have some video clips and messages that'll quickly prove that Thrall had booked and went into the studio looking to make the fourth Thrall album and instead came out magically as the God Bullies. And that sounds like some satanic black magic crap to me. I want nothing to do with it. So this whole thing has a few different moving parts. Mike and Scott will be playing some cards about the different reasons to bring back the God Bullies. First off is the biggest card they'll be playing, and that's the sympathy card, claiming to do it for their fallen comrades Johnny Johnson and David Livingstone. As they both recently passed away. That's usually followed by the memoriam card to David Livingstone to keep David's spirit alive, when that's not at all what I believe David would have wanted. And there'll be more to come a little later in the video. Then there's the BFF We Jam Together card. They say they've been playing in bands with David for years. But Scott Kodrick forgets to mention that he has never, together with David Livingstone, been in the actual God Bullies, the real deal, as I like to call it. Maybe he got up on stage for a couple songs as a guest guitarist, but that's it. And that's usually followed by the cover band card, as Thrall's keeping the God Bullies name alive by playing God Bully cover songs. And while that is certainly flattering, it doesn't turn Thrall into the God Bullies. Of course, none of these points legitimately turns Thrall into the God Bullies. So let me go over real quick the recent background on how we got to where we are today. So the timeline, sometime in February of this year, Scott Kodrick contacted me and said Mike Hard was interested in doing some more God Bully stuff, and I said, cool. Scott told me that he talked to Tommy and he wasn't interested, but gave Scott and Mike their blessing as long as I was okay with it. So I told him, yeah, I'd look into it. I had some new riffs and, we should talk. They were getting ready to go on a mini tour. I said, when you get back, we'll talk about it. Of course, I wanted to talk to guitarist Tommy Shannon and make sure it was all legitimate with him. And I was going to give Adam Berg, our drummer, a call just to see if he was, going to be involved in it. I'd love to jam with him again. And they never even talked to Adam about it. So Thrall was getting ready to go out and play on a couple of shows, so Scott said they would start hyping it by playing half God Bully sets to see what type of reaction they would get. I think what they played was God Bully only songs, and they called it the Thrall Plays God Bullies. Now, upon the return of Thrall's mini tour, and before I really had a chance to talk with any other original band members on this matter, Mike and Scott started posting the following messages. So let me read them to you real quick. From Scott Kodrick's Facebook page. Okay, here it is. Some big news. After very high demand, post after post by fans requesting, and this weekend's shows literally asking the fans, unanimously shouting the same answer, we have decided to meld the two bands together. Play Thrall songs still in the sets and God Bullies. We are going into Steve Albini's Electrical Audio in April with Stanford Parker to record the next God Bullies album this April, followed by a God Bullies US tour and European tour this year, 2024. We want to keep our brother and beloved bandmate David B. Livingstone's music/spirit alive. So this is for you, David. That being said, God Bullies are back. See you soon. That is your typical sympathy card being played right there. And you will see that David Livingstone would wanted nothing to do with this. All right, let's move on to what Mike Hard had to say. Thrall has decided to merge Thrall with the God Bullies due to high demand. Because of certain conditions of our nation and future of our country, God Bullies have been called back into service on our mission of enlightenment. 40 years ago, we tried to tell all this was going to happen, but nobody listened to us. Now the God Bullies have to go back out and do it again. This mission is too important. We cannot hand it off to They Never Sleep, Hand Over Head, The Brain Saw, and not even Thrall. The time is now for the God Bullies again to rise. All hail Lucifer, Lightbringer, the Morning Star, Herald of the Dawn, Mike Hard. Not even Thrall can do it. You go into the studio as Thrall and you somehow come out as the God Bullies. Let's continue. Well, as soon as I saw those posts, I kind of called bullshit on it. I made a couple of phone calls that went nowhere. I expressed my concerns and was quickly unfriended and blocked on the social media sites. Then I heard word of the new God Bullies album to be coming out on Reptilian Records. So I inquired to Reptilian and was told, yes, they would be putting out the new God Bullies album. Now, when I informed Chris X about the fraud that was going on, he never responded back. I've asked on multiple occasions for Chris X to contact me over this matter. He has my email and phone number, but I've never heard a word from him. So I'm not sure what type of business he's running over there, but it's not very professional in my honest opinion. Now, I've talked to the original members of the God Bullies, Tommy Shannon, Adam Berg, Tony Oliveri, who are all alive and doing well. I wanted to get their take on this matter. Tommy has since withdrew his blessings, and none of them have approved the co-opting of the God Bullies' good name. So, not wanting this type of fraud to take place, I contacted my attorney and had cease and desist letters sent to Mike Hard, Scott Kodrick, and Reptilian Records. Mike Hard was the only one who responded, playing the old cover band cards that he's been playing God Bullies live for years, but didn't really address any of the trademark issues that the actual complaint had in them. So what has happened now is Mike Hard and Scott Kodrick did scramble to put in for the God Bully trademark, I guess believing that all the legal notices that they received and the actual history around the band doesn't matter, okay? After all, they're doing this to keep David Livingstone's spirit alive, and this is in no way a slick move to just rewrite history and screw over the actual God Bully members. All right, that takes us up to today, where the fake God Bully album is now for sale. The Thrall Bullies, that's what I'll be referring to them as, the Thrall Bullies, and they plan to play live shows as the God Bullies. Okay, this is where it's going to get fun. Let's go to some video clips. The first clip is from the Thrall page titled, Thrall Facebook page, pardon me, The History of Thrall and What's to Come. It pretty much says it all when Scott tells us they're going in the studio to do the fourth album, the fourth Thrall album. God Bullies already has 4 albums. And he also mentioned how Reptilian Records will be re-releasing Thrall Chemical Wedding. You know, it was like they're doing a whole Thrall thing. Mike Hard does ask if Reptilian will be doing Kill the King or any God Bullies stuff or anything like that to do with God Bullies. And Scott says, no, just what we're doing now. It was always just about recording the 4th album and re-releasing an earlier Thrall album. Then I'll play a couple videos from the podcast, Getting It Out, where Mike Hard lets us know exactly why he and Thrall are so desperate to grift off the God Bullies' popularity, when he admits by saying that it's kind of been that way since I've left the God Bullies. No one knows who the hell Thrall is. This is going to be fun. Stick around. A lot more to come.
The plans are for us, we are going to play the Liars Club on March 2nd. It's a Friday night in Chicago.
Damn, that's coming up.
And then the Lift in Dubuque, Iowa, the following night on that Saturday, March 3rd.
Center of rock and roll.
And then we are going into the studio in Chicago on
April.
No, it's March 13th. It's March. Pretty sure it's March.
No, you switched it to April.
Yeah, because that would have only been 2 weeks later. I think he switched it later.
We'll have to look that up.
Yeah, I'm not
I
clear on
think
the
it's
date myself,
April,
to be
man.
honest,
It
but-
better
But anyways, we're going into the studio at Electrical Audio, Steve Albini's studio in Chicago, and with a guy, an engineer named Sanford Parker, who's an amazing engineer. Our friends, These Beasts in Chicago, he did an album for those guys. It was just off the charts, awesome, and it absolutely blew my mind. He's done stuff for Voivod, Pelican, like 200 bands. The studio alone is just to record an album in that studio is something I've always wanted to do. So we're excited about it. Yeah, it's an honor to even set foot in that place. So that'll be our 4th album. We're going to put that out, and then we are going to tour it. So those are the plans.
Well, we're gonna put it out. We'll see what touring it means, isn't it? Like,
we'd like to get on out there as support for like a bigger touring band. We've been talking to a few people, and we might do some headlining shows as well. But because we took an 8-year hiatus, we need to sort of get ourselves back out there per se.
oh, and then you got to go to participate in all the social media. But Scott put out a really cool thing of God Bullies live in Dubuque, and it's from 2010 when we did the reunion thing for Hazelmeyer. We played like 5 shows in the Midwest, and Dubuque was the last show, so we had like 5 shows before the Dubuque show. So it's really the best I've heard the Bullies live in a long time. The recording's off the board. They did a great job with it. They love us in Dubuque. The crowd fucking sings along to the songs. It was just it's a great show. So if you get a chance to listen to it, I like I said, I don't know how you can get to it, but it is out there.
Thrall2.bandcamp.com. Also, it's a possibility that Chris Axe might be doing something with it from a Reptilian. That's not.
David Livingstone plays the shit out of the guitar. I mean, the whole band rocks. Johnny Johnson from Thrall is on it as well. So it's Mike Corso, original bass player and songwriter, Adam Berg, original drummer and songwriter, and David Livingstone, original guitar. Well, Tommy Shannon was the original guitar, but then David did all the work after him. But anyway, pretty much. So and then Johnny Johnson backing up, kind of on rhythm guitar. and just tightening everything up. So those songs, it's like a 20-song set.
Yeah, it's a long set.
And the songs go boom, 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 boom. It's I can't believe I was there.
Another thing we should talk about is Chris X, Reptilian Records. He's re-releasing Chemical Wedding on vinyl. That's going to be coming out soon.
Yeah. Did we talk to him about doing the God Bullies Kill the King or something? Because we
were just talking about this live thing maybe, and then what we're doing now in the studio, upcoming. So yeah, Reptilian Records,
Chris X,
Tentacles.
he's always been there for us.
Thomas Hazelmeyer and Rep.
Thanks,
thank you guys. Like, without those guys, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing.
That's a whole.
Actually, we played a live show in Dubuque, and we did a Thrall plays God Bullies, and we put it in Dubuque, Iowa. We asked
Chicago,
Illinois as well. It's like, hey, what do we do? We've been doing this, and we were out as Thrall, and we said we're either going to do this as Thrall or God Bullies, and everyone in the audience is just like God Bullies, God Bullies, God Bullies. So we kind of listened to our fans, and then we followed our heart with our two, my best friends. And decided to do this record. Yeah, it's kind of a memoriam to them. And then we just really loved the music we were making together. So we said, yeah, let's do this, man. I'm not getting any younger. So, let's rock it out a little bit.
Thankfully.
Yeah, good.
All right. Well, speaking of back out there now, you guys, I believe, are going to be going back out there on the road in October. Is this the first tour that you've done as God Bullies in a while?
Well, we did Thrall plays God Bullies, and then we got to Dubuque, and we put it. It was like the last show of about 4 shows we did, and we put it to the crowd in Dubuque. And Dubuque is something that we've always built up. We played some crazy shows in Dubuque. For years and years.
Dubuque, is that? Hold on, you're saying Dubuque?
Dubuque, Iowa.
Yeah, Dubuque, Iowa.
Everyone's shocked when you say that. Yeah. But if you look at it as a band, if you're going to Minneapolis or Texas, that's kind of where you go down and turn at. So it's a really good stop to have a show before you either go north or go south. So from years of just living in the band, we've always hit Dubuque either before Texas or before Minneapolis. And we just got great friends there and built up this crazy ass following.
They love live music and they like to get.
They know every lyric to all my songs, and it's just it's a fun show. It's packed and it's really a live house and
great people too.
Yeah. The guy that does some of our merch is there.
Aaron.
Yeah,
Aaron Heffel owns the Live.
Yeah. Oh, Aaron Heffel. Yeah, right. We take him on the record.
Oh, and Joel too.
Yeah, and Joel does some
Dark Slide.
From Dark Slide, right? So we just got to know him over the years, and we put it to the Dubuque audience. It's like, should we go on as Thrall or should we go on as God Bullies?
Yeah.
And it was just like God Bullies, God Bullies. No one even said anything about Thrall. And it's been kind of the way that it's been after I've left God Bullies. No one knows who the hell Thrall is or ever. I don't know if it's because Jello just doesn't promote bands very well, but one of the best albums I ever did was Chemical Wedding, and hardly anyone's ever heard of it.
Okay, let's do a quick follow-up on those videos. Unlike Scott Kodrick's Facebook post I just read you, they talk about going into the studio as Thrall and not the God Bullies. What's interesting is Mike Hart does mention the video of the actual God Bullies show, the real deal, live at the Lift in Dubuque, Iowa, where we played right after the 25-year AMREP reunion. Now, I suggest you go watch those shows because we kicked ass. And then compare those to what the Thrall Bullies are offering up these days. It's a huge night and day difference. Scott also mentions how they, meaning Thrall, took an 8-year hiatus, again proving the band they're talking about recording is Thrall. And on the next 2 videos, Mike Hard talked about putting it to the fans and how nobody wanted Thrall. Sorry, but having the fans shout out God Bullies doesn't turn Thrall into the God Bullies. That's not how it's done in the real world. Maybe on a fake Hollywood movie, but not in the real world. All right, let's move on to some clips from the podcast, Whatever Comes Next, where the interviewer first spells out how there are no original members but Mike Hard in this new rendition of the God Bullies, and then asks if this is Scott Kodrick's first time playing together on a God Bully album. Scott answers only prove that he has never ever been in the actual God Bullies. He's no part of the real deal. Then we'll follow up with some clips asking why was now a good time to bring the God Bullies back, okay? Only to have Mike Hard give anything but what he says is a simple answer. His convoluted answer starts out with Johnny Johnson and a 25-year Thrall reunion of Hung Like God album, but unfortunately Johnny Johnson passed away. And just to be clear, Johnny Johnson has never been in the God Bullies. He then moves on to playing with David Livingstone, and I believe it's in the band Pig Harvest. They mention that later in some other videos we'll be reviewing. But then David Livingstone passes on. They play the Sympathy and the BFF cards, followed by a bunch of blah, 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 blah. And then Mike Hard says it just snowballed into the memorial album to David Livingstone. And what's suspicious they talk about is that Mike Hard said they already had a lot of these songs pre-written. So exactly whose songs are they trying to pawn off as actual God Bully songs? I don't know. Anyways, none of Mike Hard's word salad makes any sense or legitimizes the co-opting of the God Bullies' good name. Okay, let's watch those together.
On Reptilian Records. And sadly, last year, David B. Livingston, longtime collaborator with vocalist Mike Hard and former God Bullies member, passed away. And this current iteration of God Bullies, aside from Mike Hard, is an entirely new lineup as far as God Bullies is concerned. But in fact, the guys had all been playing together for quite a number of years, most significantly in Thrall. And as you'll hear in the interview, Mike Hard and guitarist Scott Kodrick actually go way back. So, as you would imagine, for musicians that have been in the underground music trenches for decades, they have plenty of stories to tell, and I'm going to let them tell them for you. And so, obviously, we are partly here to talk about As Above, So Below. Your, I guess it is... Now, I know that the two of you have got kind of quite a long history going back playing with each other, but this is your first album together as God Bullies.
Yes. Yep.
So I suppose really an initial question that I should ask is why in 2024 was it time to bring God Bullies back to life?
Oh man, it's a very simple. We this whole thing started with us wanting to do a Thrall reunion for Hung Like God. And Johnny Johnson played guitar on that, and we are going to do like a 25 years since we're out, we're going to do a show. And so we're rehearsing for that show, and then unfortunately Johnny Johnson passed away during those rehearsals for this one show we were going to do in Detroit.
The other guitar player.
Our Thrall guitar player. So we called David up and said, listen, we've been jamming for a while. You want to come back in with this? Because I did They Never Sleep with David, and he just jumped right at it. So we started rehearsing with David, and a couple of these songs David co-wrote, and then he passed away. And this was about a year and a half of each other. And it just, it just really hurt me because I've been with David for 40 years or something like that. I mean, he's been my main songwriter. And then, of course, Scott's one of my main songwriters as well with Thrall. And
David, Mike, and I, we've all known each other. I mean, Mike's known David forever. I knew David at that point, I think for, 15, 20 years, something like that. And this other project that we did, it was almost 2.5 years that we were playing, and we were just about to put something out with David when he passed away. So
Right. So these are two really good friends that this album wouldn't even have happened without Johnny saying, "Hey, let's get together, get and do this 25-year reunion." And then it kind of just snowballed after that.
Yeah.
And then when David passed away, we were like, "Oh my God, David Livingstone was not only a big part of God Bullies, but a huge part of that whole noise scene." I mean, he was editor for Your Flesh. He did a couple cow. I know he did one Cows album, recording them, and he's just a big part of that underground scene. And such a great friend. So we just wanted to do this kind of as a memorial to Johnny and to David. And we had a lot of these songs pre-written. And so it's like, fuck it, man, let's do it.
All right, the next clips talk about two songs. You Call This Love and Help. These songs David Livingstone helped write that are now on the Thrall Bullies fake album. They also mention the band Pig Harvest they were in before David's unfortunate demise. Now, I'm not sure if the two songs are from David Livingstone sitting in with Thrall or from Pig Harvest, but the more honorable memorial to David Livingstone would be to put these songs out under the proper name of what band actually wrote them. It certainly isn't a reason to do it under the God Bullies banner. Let's check them out.
You Call This Love and Help were actually written with David Livingstone, who pretty much wrote all the early God Bully stuff with me. And so that's kind of what kind of got us to do this Bullies album again, is we had those two songs, and they were like the last two songs David wrote with us, and I really wanted to get them out there. So that was kind of another, that, and I want to just put out a God Bully record that honored David Livingstone, because he was just such a huge part of my life and the Bullies too. And I was in another band called They Never Sleep with David. We put out an Adam from the Bullies as well, and Karen Neal. So I had those two songs, and I just wanted to get them out. And then we've been replaying with David on this Pig Harvest thing for about 2 years.
yeah, almost 3.
Oh yeah, almost 3 years, and we were getting ready to put stuff out with that. And then he suddenly passed away, so that kind of put a kibosh on that. So
it was out of nowhere.
But basically, I just wanted to honor David for all our friendship. We started together. I had two songs at the end that we did before he passed away. And I wanted to get them out there because I think they're really good songs. I love Help and You Call This Love. I think they're just great songs. And actually, I like You Call This Love a lot. I like I like almost every song on this album. I mean, every one of them, really. I think it's a great album.
Yeah, I've got no complaints whatsoever. I love it.
So what does the rest, like, next 12 months look like for the band?
Well, we're doing the videos right now. We're going to shoot it. We want to do at least 2 or 3 more videos. We want to start recording the next record right now. I mean, and we have some other projects we kind of started. I don't know what we're going to do with. We have this Pig Harvest thing that we did. We have 2 songs from with David on it, and Scott playing bass, and Cliff on drums. So maybe a single with that. Because it's like literally David playing guitar on his last recordings, and we have 2 songs that we just have to mix them. So maybe something like that. But we're already starting to work on the next record.
I think that the idea is to, we'd like to do some festivals, we'd like to do some live shows, but for us to go do that, we've been doing this for a long time. We need it financially. We need to get out there on some bigger stages like we used to do back in the day. So
Yeah.
hopefully it gets to that point. These shows that we're doing now are kind of like intimate shows, and we're just kind of getting out there and doing a few,
Scott's such a big dreamer.
Yeah.
I'm more practical. It's like, hey, been there, done that,
my other job is working in arenas and theaters. So,
Scott's a union stagehand.
I'm an agent too. So, you know what I mean? So we'll see what happens, but that's the goal,
All right, let's do a quick review of those videos we just watched. They played the BFF Jammed With You sympathy and memorial cards. They love those cards. Scott Kodrick talks of playing festivals. He's been doing this for a long time, but he's never as a God Bully. Bullies. Okay, his statement, financially, they need to get on bigger stages like back in the day. I think that says a lot to their motivation. It's about the money that is to be made from grifting off the God Bullies popularity that Thrall didn't have. He talks of the intimate shows they are doing now, and I'll translate that for you. Tiny crowds. Quick story, this year, Thrall played a club in Kalamazoo, and that's God Bullies' hometown, and I don't think 15 people showed up. Very small crowd. Well, I did ask the members of Thrall why they've allowed Mike Hard to turn Thrall into a God Bullies cover band. They all giggled, but no one mentioned how they were going to rebrand themselves as the God Bullies. So the next couple clips are priceless. Scott Kodrick stammers through his explanation of how the God Bullies needed to rebrand it like God Bully Now. He's like, I don't want to rip off David Livingstone guitar licks. Then they play the BFF and the cover band cards. The second clip, Scott Kodrick admits to being a metalhead and how the fake new God Bullies album is much heavier, kind of just like all the previous Thrall albums were. It has a metal sort of edge to it, and it's not as psychedelic or trippy as the God Bullies stuff always was. All right, then I'll put a short clip at the end where Mike Hard talks about the psychedelic sound of the God Bullies had and how it's a much different vibe. All right, let's go to those videos.
I mean, I think we kind of, the way we did it too, we sort of, we tried to rebrand it so it's, God Bullies Now. We didn't want to be, trying to, like, I didn't want to be David and rip off David, or try to do something where we're at now. Mike and I played together for 37 years.
Yeah, and for every time we play a Thrall show, we'd throw a couple Bully songs in on the encore, and then David would come in, like we do a Thrall show, and if David was around, he'd come up and play the God Bully sets, on guitar with us. And, we even, like I said, he was always kind of in and out of our live, performances, and these guys grew up on him.
And, with this album that we just did, I think that, like, I've always been kind of it gets me in trouble with him, but I've always been kind of a metalhead. Like I like heavy-ended music, so he was worried that this album was going to be kind of too heavy, and people were, God Bullies fans were going to say, hey, it's way too heavy for God Bullies album. And my feeling was, this is exactly what we should do, with you up front and like a driving force behind you. I think this is going to, go balls to the walls and kick them where it hurts. And everybody said, really good things about it so far. So I think we got, I had a good feeling about this when we came out of the studio.
We are a lot more psychedelic and drug orientated kind of. And then with David's input, like the early God Bullies, Tommy Shannon wrote, I think, about half of the first record. So there's a little bit of different vibe.
All right, now I'm going to share with everybody some of the personal messages David Livingstone and myself shared about God Bullies Matters. You can visit godbullies.com and you'll see a link at the top of the page, Messages from Livingstone. I'll briefly go through some of the highlighted points. I'm sure you will come to the conclusion that Mr. Livingstone would not have wanted anything to do with this bastardization of the God Bullies' good name. You will read how David Livingstone helped put the kibosh to Mike Hard Band calling themselves the God Bullies. I'll try to leave a link in the description so you can read it all for yourself. Let's run through some of these. All right. Oops, I gotta get right there. We'll continue reading it. All right, sorry about that. right, I'm going to skip down, and I've got some stuff kind of bullet pointed. Let's start right here. We have the plans for the 25th AMREP show. So let's see. We got some stuff highlighted here, and right off the bat, you can see here how it had been 7 years. In 2002, the God Bullies recorded an album, has all the bass and drums, a lot of guitar, and even some rough vocals put on it that never got finished. So it'd been 7 years at this point where this God Bully album has been sitting in the can and unfinished. So that's why I'm kind of mentioning, hey, the 25-year reunion. This is from me. Maybe you guys could put the finishing touches on the last album we started to record. Okay. All right. What's this? This is the AMREP 25-year gig, and this is David Livingstone. There is, again, discussion of doing the band again, and of course, the only way that makes sense is if you are involved. I'm pretty iffy on the idea myself, but if an agreement can be hammered out that everybody, particularly you, me being the God Bullies bass player, Mike Corso, would be happy with, I would be down with giving it a try. So yeah, that was the 25-year reunion. So yeah, oh, here's another bullet point. And I'm mentioning again, of course, there's still the unfinished God Bully album in the works we recorded before I moved to sunny Austin. See, I moved to sunny Austin, Texas. I've been basically self-employed my whole life, so I could have come up, toured the album. We could record more stuff. We could have done a lot of things. Yeah, I think all right. Here's this one. Basically starts talking about Scott Kodrick. Scott Kodrick. Adam Berg told me that Scott Kodrick got us this gig. So he tells me that Kodrick has a Halloween gig as long as he can play. I hope the God Bullies isn't turned into So You Think You Can Be a God Bullies sideshow. And with that said, I again ask them about completing the unfinished album. All right, I got some notes in here. Let's go over them. All right. Yeah, while I lived in sunny Austin, Texas, I was always going to come up and play shows as like the Theater Bazaar as the God Bullies. As soon as we committed to it, I soon saw that the show was being moved to a small club, and I told them to go ahead and do it if they wanted. Theater Bazaar was a huge thing in Detroit. I think it was a whole city block. And of course, eventually, unfortunately, the fire marshal ends up shutting them down. And they ended up moving this thing to some tiny club. And let's see. I love the way David lets you know how he feels about Scott Kodrick joining the God Bullies. This is his response to that. So, Scott got us the gig. So here's David Livingstone telling you about Scott Kodrick playing with the God Bullies. As to Scott Kodrick playing, don't know why he wants to, or if he thinks that he's somehow going to angle his way into the band or some shit, but that crap's not happening. If he wants to come up and jam on a couple songs, fine, whatever, but that's it. I'm going to read it again. As to Kodrick playing, don't know why he wants to, or if he thinks that he's somehow going to angle his way into the band or some shit, but that crap's not happening. If he wants to come up and jam on a couple songs, fine, whatever, but that's it. So, he's not a real big fan of Scott Kodrick's guitar playing, and I don't think he'd be happy with him being the main person in the band, especially, like you said earlier, if I'm not involved. I'm reading his mind here, but that's just how I see it. David's agenda at this point is to go back through the tracks, finishing them off. The album never got finished. It never got finished. That would be a good memorial to David Livingstone. All right, as mentioned earlier, Hard and Livingstone, we're in a couple bands together while the God Bullies recorded material sat unfinished. This is a discussion about the band They Never Sleep that David and Hard and Adam were all in, and here's the situation that happened behind that. Rehearsal sucked. after waiting, starting at 5, Adam's 45 minutes late, Hard's an hour late, and blah, blah, blah. So people steered studiously clear of discussing anything to do with the Bullies, other than vagaries of wanting to record. Hard was more into talking about the They Never Sleep recording soon. So that was happening. You need to go to the website and go through these. I'm just gonna blast through them real quick. So, like I say here, the Theater Bazaar had the potential to attract some attention and possibly new fans. But when I saw the venue had changed, I was happy. I stayed in sunny Austin, Texas. I'm working on being able to come up early next year and tour if the situation calls for it. And I hope the rest of the band can focus on completing the album again. So, oh, that's right. I think They Never Sleep played this thing called the Horrible Fest, and it was a disaster. And here's David Livingstone talking about what Mike Hard and those guys did when he was playing in the band They Never Sleep. Don't think I told you, but Hard and Berg decide to surprise me by bringing along a second guitarist, the guy they're working with in the Mike Hard Best Of thing. All right. Think they expected me to spaz out or something. I took it as a matter of course. Played the show, came home, and haven't really talked to them since, nor do I expect to. This is David being very profound in his thoughts always. It's a damn shame things are the way they are. Were there some measures of loyalty, civility, or basic human decency there, it might have been possible to make something out of the reprised God Bullies and or They Never Sleep. But in the absence of any sense of mutual regard/respect, it becomes impossible. I've had quite enough, I think. All right, a quick note here. The following was when we had a chance to play Grumpy's in Minneapolis for the largest guarantee we'd ever had, including airfare and motels. But getting Mike Hard to play the show was like pulling teeth. It really was insane. This is almost a year after the AmRep 25 reunion in Minneapolis at Grumpy's, and I believe this was the absolute last show we played. That was the ending of the God Bullies. Note from Dave, or let's see, note from me. David makes it quite clear that any lineup that doesn't include both of us would be a rather sorry sight. So here's David talking about doing this show for the big bucks. Hey Tom, just saw yours, Corso's note from before. The only reason I'd want to do this is to see my Minneapolis friends, particularly yourself and Corso. My bottom line is that given my schedule is clear when I get back home, I would play the show as a one-off, provided the lineup consisted of Hard, Berg, and Corso, maybe Tommy Shannon or Johnny Johnson. Bottom line is that if Corso's not in, I'm not in. And I would presume that any God Bullies that didn't contain both of us would be a rather sorry sight indeed. And I read these in I hear him in David Livingstone's voice. I enjoyed listening to him. But this one, please know that the only reason I'm considering the absolute ludicrous notion of driving back into that septic tank is because you are asking. It's because you're so very special. Aren't you lucky? Hope all's well. I hear him in his voice. That's just what I do. I miss the guy. All right, here's me. I do appreciate the fact that our fans really enjoy seeing us. As to the lineup, thanks for having my back. And you'll see later in here how he helped put the kibosh to Mike Hard trying to transform the band into the reunited God Bullies. You, me, Hard, and Berg, maybe Tommy, although I shot him a message, and without going into detail, he said, no fucking way. I really don't think we need Johnny yet. Tommy Shannon wants nothing to do with it. I appreciate him for that. Very interesting gentleman. And here's David. Thanks, Mike. Don't think we need Johnny, though. I think we sound fine with him. And we did. We rocked with him. We can always have an extra guy come up and we can make sure he doesn't mess it up. All right. In any event, as far as God bully shit goes, I really have had enough of those fucking, from the fucking bullshit from those people. It's just ridiculous. I'm pretty well sure they won't want to go for it just because they're stubborn prats. And they'd rather blow the opportunity than cave to you or me on anything. See, bands, they're not as behind the curtain. It can get really ugly sometimes. I'm sure people that have been in bands understand it. And people that haven't been in bands, they see the lead singer and they think it's always all about him. All right, the next section goes back and forth about the legitimate show at Grumpy's or the fake God Bully shows going on in Columbus, Ohio. This is the part I'm telling you where he's putting the kibosh to Mike Hard. So this is me. Hey, David, I checked out Johnny Johnson's Facebook page and I see he will be attending / playing the God Bully show October 9th in Columbus. I was all right with the Mike Hard show, playing some God Bully stuff, but billing himself as a God Bullies just pisses me off. He said the Mike Hard show played Louie's in Kalamazoo, but it wasn't the God Bullies crowd. No shit. Because you alone ain't the fucking God Bullies. What the fuck? Pardon my French. And this link is gone. I've tried to see if these links are still up, but they're not. Let's kind of continue down here a minute. Oh yeah, so we ended up we ended up booking the gig. We get the gig. It's like the most we ever been paid. Plane fare and motel rooms, like a real rock band, you know. David says, when you told me they'd booked that, it made me really sick that I had allowed myself to get roped back into doing anything with them, even for Hazelmeyer. That's the man who runs the record label, another awesome person. All right, he's like, let me think for a bit. I'm pretty damn disgusted and I want to wash my hands of all of it and forget that I was ever involved. Turned out to be a massive multi-year waste of time that I could have better spent on other things. Tommy Shannon is way smarter than I am, that's certain. So he's like, my first thought is, nah, let them go humiliate themselves in Ohio being a tribute band. Then a week later, we play Minneapolis and show how it's really done. Then, as far as me, over and out. So, like I say, the fact that they keep holding it out that they're doing it for David is just sickening to me. Even if he wanted it, that wouldn't have been a legitimate reason to do what they're doing, especially after all the band members have asked them not to, and legal notices were sent out. Everything they're doing here now after that is totally over the top. All right, this is just about us dreaming about putting together the super band. Oh yeah, here's another one that goes along with the Ohio stuff. I wish I could still get the article. Will the real God Bullies please stand up? Because the comments and hoopla that surrounded it. But Livingstone's response, perfectly clear. He was not at all on board when it comes to Mike Hard using the God Bullies name in vain. And there's the link to the thing. It's gone, unfortunately. So here's David's response. Here's the letter I sent to Mike Hard. Two things. First, Hayes needs your address to send you your travel reimbursement check. All right. Second, I see you have spoken with the other paper, Columbus, referencing my complaint to them that their article and or the show's promoter had misrepresented your recent appearance as being a God Bullies reunion, when in fact it hadn't been. It had been my assumption that persons other than yourself had been responsible for this, and hence it wasn't an issue between you and I, but rather a matter of sloppy journalism and or misrepresentation on the part of the club. Corso had indicated to me that you told him that the people, presumably Paul, who booked the show, had been responsible for effectively rebranding your current band as the God Bullies without your knowledge. Am I wrong about this? Let me know. So I think that pretty much says he doesn't want somebody else calling a different band the God Bullies. And here's my response to it. Hello, I'm Mike Corso, bass player in the God Bullies. Per your story, will the real God Bullies please stand up? Well, I'm here and I'm standing up. Well, I got a good chuckle out of your mixing 90s style rock with political theater article. Referring to the band as Mike Hard and their reunited God Bullies is the problem. I'm sure you can understand the indisputable amount of work and time it takes to build the brand name and reputation of a band of the God Bullies notoriety. Well, the Mike Hard band may play some God Bullies songs and they also play many songs that have absolutely nothing at all to do with the God Bullies. Thus, they are not the God Bullies. For promoter Paul Bearer to make God Bullies the only name on the posters or his Facebook event page would certainly be deceiving to unsuspecting God Bully fans and can only be considered fraudulent. And for that, I am offended. I'm sure Mike Hard takes great pride in the Mike Hard band, and you'd think he would want it advertised as such. I was a bit taken back by Hard's whatever gets people in the door is my philosophy, as if to pass off a Mike Hard God Bullies cover band as the actual God Bullies just to fill some seats in is okay. Well then, shame on you. I have no animosity towards Hard and only gripe over the mixing 90s rock style article. So while the real God Bullies did rock out both shows, that's the ones we played right after the 25-year reunion, Hard comments, and this is classic. Columbus was better than the later shows with Livingstone and Corso. Neither of them are currently in the band or even practicing their craft. So Mike Hard basically is telling everybody after we played this kick-ass shows that his fake God Bully band does a better job. And you think he's wanting to do a tribute album for this gentleman when he doesn't even think he's all right. I'm going to finish this. As a longtime friend of Hard's, and I've known him since 7th grade, I take that as an insult to me as a musician and entertainer. Excuse me. But that's the same old Mike Hard, and I really don't even want to go there. Hey, Mike Hard, practice my craft? It's punk rock, dude. I can play these songs in my sleep. I'll see y'all at the next real God Bullies show. OMGB. I coined that. Oh my God Bullies. Respectfully, a real God Bully member, Mike Corso. David, bingo, ace reply. Oh yeah, and Tommy wrote a bunch of stuff on there. David read a little bit to me. He was going to send it, but he never did. And I really wished he did because Tommy writes really good too. All right. Here's a quick note. All right. David spells it out. Between you, me, and Tommy, we wrote every single decent lick that cunt has ever sang. Oh, all right. He's talking. This is still about that article. And David's a great writer. He wrote for the Western Herald, the Kalamazoo Gazette, the magazine Your Flesh. It was out of Minneapolis back then, and a bunch of stuff. Excellent writer. See how he says, I started typing a long message about fraud bullies, endless tour of Columbus, but didn't ultimately bother. See, every time they'd go to Columbus, where they didn't think we realized they were playing, they'd try and do this God Bully scam. David wasn't into it. Neither was I. Between you, me, Tommy, we wrote every single decent lick that cunt has ever sang to. and now the well is dry. So it's one endless return from now on. And that's what the Mike Hard show was all about, playing all the songs that he wrote, and that's fine. I'd have no problem with him doing that. Here's another quick note. The following show how Adam Berg, original drummer, didn't want to do fake bullies, and how Mike Hard suffers from delusions of grandeur. And I think the whole Thrall band has it now. So David says, "Hey, did you hear from Adam today? He called me and was gonna call you. Pretty interesting. He is evidently not down with this fake God bully shit and has been fighting with Hard about it. Called up basically to apologize and tell me so. Yeah, he left me a message. I was surprised to hear from him. Here's a great one too, and I'm gonna put a video that right after this section here. I'll put it in right after this section we're going through, and it's a short video of Mike Hard trying to say how Tommy, Adam, and I didn't want to do a South by Southwest. When this is what I'm imagining he's talking about, because we never turned down a South by Southwest. So David tells us evidently Hard wants them to go to South by Southwest with it for, get this, a guarantee of 150, and Adam doesn't wanna. Hard is under the delusion that if they go and play, they'll get signed / discovered. And I'll let you read all those ha-ha-ha's yourself. But there's more to the story. Let's see if we get into it. That bitch has no pride. Because they did end up coming down to South by Southwest. I lived in Austin, Texas back then. And they played as whatever other band it was. Here's David again about this whole thing. I do love the way Hard's arrogance is already tearing his new band apart. Pathetic fucking loser. I'm sorry I ever wasted a second of my time playing with that cunt. Now I know this is back and forth messages between people, and sometimes they might be a little bit more spicy. So I guess you could say take it with a grain of salt, but I'm pretty sure he doesn't want a tribute album happening, okay? Oh, here's a beautiful one too. Let's move on to something that's really never talked about. Well, it is. I've been putting a few things out on some on Reddit and some places, and a couple people have said, well, Mike Hard's the one constant in the whole band. Yeah, it's almost true, except it's not true, because at one point, Mike Hard quit the band. Mike Hard quit the God Bullies, and the God Bullies still had some shows booked. So we went out and we found a good friend of ours who knew the band well, Blaine Townsend, and he played some shows with us. We did some rehearsals, played some shows. Quick story here: we had a show at Club Soda in Kalamazoo. That's God Bullies' hometown. That's our bar. We were the headliner. We got paid points. We sold a crap load of merch, and Blaine Townsend was signing autographs like no tomorrow. And basically, there's couple people that complain, where's Mike Hard? His fanboys, they're always going to be out there. But there's a lot of people that never seen the band, thought we were the hottest thing, since, buttered toast. So Mike Hard can't walk on water. He can call himself Father Hard. It's nothing. He's just another front man with a lot of ego. All right, we're gonna do a few more of these, and we'll get to some other stuff that's pretty interesting. Here's me saying that he did play the South by Southwest, but not as the God Bullies. I might even recorded it. I don't remember. Oh wait, here's a quick one. This really has nothing to do with much, but hilariously tragic. The Mike Hard show is streaming live from PJ's Lager House. Now, I contacted Livingstone and go, hey, aren't you watching the Mike Hard show Massacre God Bullies songs? Watched a few, got bored. Packing them in, I see. It's sad. It's too bad he feels the need to flog the dead. All but one song has been God Bullies, and they play song after song. Damn, they just sound horrible. That guy is the least inspired guitarist I've ever heard. Damn Hard must really miss the God Bullies. I know, poor guy. Why doesn't he just start a new band for Christ's sakes? Oh, after a dozen songs, it looks like they may have ran out of God Bullies songs. So that's just a little, nothing to do with nothing story but the silliness of rock and roll. Here's another attempt from Livingstone to get Hard to write the lyrics for the unfinished album. And he has a real good statement. All right, and we observe that we still have a Bullies album to finish, and it's the 25th release of Mama Woom Woom. Be a good time to do this. So he gave him a bunch of files to listen to, learn, make up lyrics, and we're going to see what he comes up with and get it done. I want to get that album from 2002 finished. All right, I'm transferring some videos and stuff. But if you were to come here in the summer, we could actually play a few shows, some shit. That'd be cool from where I stand. A nice way to pound nails into the coffin. He's trying to end this thing. He doesn't want to. David didn't live off his ego, okay? And this is, I think, Mike Hard wanting to just have his last ditch effort. Went in the studio with Thrall and performed Fraud and put it out as the God Bullies. I'll be up for that. I have a big hammer I'll bring, and maybe this time we can kill the beast. The songs are good. I think it would be a good album when it's done. Never got done. They digitized tracks. And I said, besides Mike Hard Band needs some new tunes to play. Not. And David goes, seems like the curtain's coming down on that. Here's another good one. David says, besides, the Mike Hard Band never could figure out how to play They Never Sleep tunes. Evolution stopped at Thrall. So that's what he thinks of Thrall, okay? Evolution stopped. All right, here's me. He's okay. So time has gone by. Now, being as how this is now the 25th anniversary of the release of Dog Show, the album after Mama Woom, it seems to me if there was ever a good time to bang a few nails in God Bullies' coffin, this is it. So, like I say, visit the website. You can read all these for yourself, and there's some other good articles down there. Hard is using rehearsal to make up lyrics for this shit. We recorded so we can finish it. Try and get this album out. It's a great album. I'm going to try and post some rough tracks for you on the godbully.com website. Thinking about God Bullies, I think it would be cool if we got these songs done. Yeah, I know it. Stupid question. Oh, this was fun. You can go read it yourself. It's about having David and I work with Tony Oliveri and Shannon from the Cows. No, I'm sorry, but that'd be an amazing band. Would like to finish up God Bully stuff because the timing is fortuitous. Just talking about some reunion bands they had going and stuff. That's I don't know when I put those out. I didn't put all the dates on them. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, blah blah blah. This is just about getting a cool band together. Oh, there are plans afoot for God Bullies re-release on ANREP, and we did. David he remixed the Mama Woom, which had not been released on digital yet, and I got all my CDs and I got paid. David Livingstone made sure that happened. He's an honest gentleman. That's right. In fact, look at this guy. Even if we don't actually play or do anything, want to make sure that everybody gets their checks, however paltry that turns out to be. I'm surprised. I'm thinking the same way this is coming up because he did. Livingstone did pay me, and I got my share of the CDs and albums. I picked them up at the Santa Claus show in Detroit and got to sit in with the Mike Hard show and play What Are You Looking For? I have to say, AMREP always paid us, and David Livingstone is an honest gentleman. Now I'm still waiting for any payment at all from the Kill the King album from Alternative Tentacles, and I'm wondering if the payment was made to anyone. Curious. Never did get a penny from them. Oh, here's a great one too. This one's pretty important, honestly. Um, this is me. Hey, David. I went to Club Soda reunion the other night at the Old Dog, that's in Kalamazoo, and had a great time. The folks who put it on said the God Bullies were last year and this year's most requested bands they want playing. I think we should look into playing the Club Soda reunion. David's like, I'd be willing to do it, I suppose, but I have doubts that A, Hard or Berg could stand to be in the same room long enough to even run through the songs, and B, that either would be willing to play for free since proceeds go to some charity. Here's another one of his profound thoughts. It's funny how much nostalgia there is for that band. While I was keen to consider exploiting it at one point, reunion album or shows, it seems more and more that it's probably best, generally speaking, to let it be other people's nice memories. There was something special there once, but I doubt that much of it's there now. A one-off thing like the Club Soda reunion thing would probably be a good way to draw a line under it once and for all. He's got a good way with words, okay? Oh yeah, see, I want to try and do something. I wanted to get the last record done. Maybe we could do the Club Soda show. We had like a year to do it. And here's me. If we finish the last recording and put together some videos along with everything we ever put out for the box of bullies that gets released at the Club Soda reunion, then that might be fun. See, we talked on the phone. And our God Bullies #1 fan, Robert Alexander, he digitized all the God Bullies stuff and said I think everybody got something from him because a lot of the stuff was just on vinyl. He digitized it. And he talked about, he called it the box of bullies. So it's his idea. I appreciate that. Yeah, but it's probably best to just let the memory of the God Bullies be just that. Wonderful memories. That's what I wanted, okay? All right, let me read my conclusion. What did I have to say? So at the time of this last message, it's been 15 years since the God Bullies bass and drum tracks for the album was recorded. Mike Hard never stepped up to the plate to do his part in completing what should have been a really great album. But now, with Thrall barely bringing in any audience, last year I was at a show in the God Bullies hometown of Kalamazoo and maybe 20 people showed up. I did ask the members of Thrall, Scott Kodrick, Pat O'Harris, and Cliff, whatever, why the hell they're allowed Mike Hard to relegate Thrall to a God Bullies cover band. Now, they all giggled, but of course there was never any mention of rebranding Thrall into the God Bullies. I believe with the unfortunate passing of our good friend David Livingstone to put the kibosh to this nonsense. Mike Hard, being the human pile of shit that he's apparently turned into, is now brave enough to make his move to fuck over the remaining bandmates and leave a shit stain on the God Bullies legacy. That's a bit heavy. Could have used better words, but that's just how I was feeling. So we're going to move on to a couple more things and then bring a conclusion to it. Okay, this next clip, you will see both the BFF and cover band cards played heavily, all right? Mike Hard mentions how this fake new Thrall Bullies album is less psychedelic and has a heavier sound because, like I mentioned earlier and Scott said, he considers himself a metalhead. And let's face it, from everything I have covered in the video so far, the facts show that the band Thrall had booked and went into the Electrical Audio Studio to record the fourth Thrall album, but somewhere along the line, somebody decided it would just be quicker, easier, and probably much more profitable to fraudulently call it a God Bullies album. So Scott and Mike mention how heavy this album is and how on the next album it will be more psychedelic. But if it's the same lineup as Thrall, I wouldn't be holding your breath if I was you. All right, Scott Kodrick addresses the drama, or what I like to call the real issues I've been stirring up around the fake God Bully album. Scott plays the BFF memorial cards, and he says he's played actual God Bully shows, which is an absolute bold-faced lie. Hard does admit I would have been willing to work with him, but I doubt that will ever happen now, since he unfortunately decided to take the quicker route and fake it without any of the actual band members. He didn't want to wait around for the real deal to happen, okay? Then Scott Kodrick makes the absolute ridiculous statement that there have been 13 people in the God Bullies. That's just idiotic. All right, everybody, first of all, just because you get to come up on stage and play a few songs as a guest guitarist doesn't make you a God Bully, okay? You're not going to get any royalties. You're not going to be mentioned on any of the albums. Everybody who has recorded on an album is mentioned on the album, and Scott Kodrick's name is nowhere to be found. As Scott says, it is what it is. End of story. Let's check it out.
That's good. That's what we needed to do.
Yeah,
I think we're self-critical on each other, and I think that because of that, that's why the album's so good.
And we've been playing together for so long, and like when we were in Thrall, we played God Bully songs on the encores, and same thing with Brainsaw and They Never Sleep. We've always kind of kept trying to keep the God Bully name alive with the other bands I've been on and been in. So I mean, we've been trying to keep the flame going for like these last 30 years, just through the Mike Hard show and Thrall, and just keep. And then sometimes if David was around, we have a Thrall show. He'd come up and play guitar in the encore and do some Bully stuff. So we've been trying to keep the name alive. It's Pat. Well, Scott was in Thrall on every Thrall record, and then Cliff's on 2 of them. So there might be a little bit of heavier God Bully sound than what it was before. Maybe not as psychedelic, but I think this next record we're going to kind of go with a more kind of a psychedelic feel to it. Maybe
right
not
on.
as heavy. Yeah, so we'll see. But
and there's a bunch of drama going on. I don't know if you've heard it, but whatever. I mean, I've played God Bully shows. I've played with David. I've known David for 30 years. David and I were great friends. Like it is what it is. I don't pretend to be David. This album was never meant to be like that. We did this as a tribute to David and Johnny, So
yeah, apparently we pissed off one of the old God Bully members. So
yeah.
The only one that wants to work with me, and I don't even think he wants to work with me. I just want to work with people who want to work with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Just put out music and have fun, like Jesus Christ.
I mean, there are 13 people in God Bullies. 13. Just like any other band that's been around for 40 years. Yeah. End of story.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's fucking wild.
All right. Thank you for sticking around if you're still here. I appreciate it. I'd like to close it out revealing a few things we saw. The timeline. So Scott Kodrick contacted me in February of 2024 about doing God Bullies again. Now, according to the first video clip I showed you from the history of Thrall and what's to come, which was recorded in January 2024, that's before Scott and I ever talked about anything. Thrall had already booked the Electrical Audio Studio in April to record the 4th Thrall album. The first clip pretty much says it all. I probably could have just left it at that. I wanted to have you see what else they're saying. They're sounding ridiculous to me. They went into that studio as Thrall and magically came out as the Thrall Bullies. I want nothing to do with their lies or their dark magic. Now, I would have been happy to do some God Bully stuff, but somebody apparently got too anxious and couldn't wait for the real deal to happen, and got the brilliant idea to do the dishonest thing by turning that fourth Thrall album into a heavy metal fake version of the actual God Bullies. And remember, earlier Mike Hard did tell us he's not getting any younger, so perhaps that's what's motivated him to perpetrating such a fraud. I think we can agree that you can't meld or merge bands together just because the audience yells it out. And I don't care how many convoluted reasons Mike Hard gives in any upcoming interviews he does. Nothing can snowball Thrall into being a different band. That's not how it's done. Okay, now we reviewed that they had talked of unreleased tracks with David Livingstone in Pig Harvest. Now putting those songs out would have been a proper memoriam to Mr. Livingstone. Not this nonsense they're trying to pull now. Again, all of the original God Bully members are alive and well. Would have been a good place to start if you wanted to, do the band again. And none of them have given Thrall the approval to co-opt the God Bullies' good name. God Bullies have had an unfinished album waiting to be completed since 2002. Now, spending energy finishing that album would have been a wonderful memoriam to David Livingstone. But unfortunately, even though Mike Hard and David Livingstone worked closely together, neither of them ever stepped up to finish that album. And I am looking to post some of those tracks on the godbully.com website, so come check it out. Now, what really gets me the most angry is the fact that from the beginning they play the sympathy and memorial card over and over again to justify how they're doing it all for their best friend David Livingstone as a memorial to him. Well, let me tell you, that is absolutely BS. We went over the messages from the Spirit of David Livingstone section on godbullies.com, and it's easy to see that David had had quite enough of the drama that continually surrounded the God Bullies, and I'm certain that he would not be happy with them grifting off his unfortunate death. So David Livingstone, he had lots of friends. I'm a little bit more keep it close to the home type of guy, but David knew a lot of people. And so if you knew David, or you actually considered David one of your friends, and you buy this fake God Bullies album, or even go to one of the Fraud Bully shows, you remember that's what David called them, then after the show, you might as well just drive right over to his gravesite and piss on his grave, because I don't believe you were ever really David's friend. I'm sorry, but every time I hear them say they're doing this for David, it just makes my blood boil. It's unimaginable. All right, so why did I make this video, this Rockumentary? I was very proud of the true God Bully legacy as it was already written. History already had it out there. I mean, every time I saw something popping up on the internet about the God Bullies, I'm like, oh yeah, let me see what they have to say. This isn't what I want to be doing. This isn't any fun to me, and I didn't want to have to put this out. It's just hard for me to watch and read something about the God Bullies without it seeming tainted now. I just wanted to more accurately reflect the deceptive measures behind the making of the fake-ass God Bully album. The theft of something as unique as music I created is very personal to me. I know what's happening here may seem trivial to some folks, but it means a heck of a lot to those of us who've put the time, sweat, and effort into creating art or music just to have it stolen or exploited. Have you ever had your door kicked in with your property stolen and your home left trashed? It leaves you feeling violated. Well, I've had that happen to me, and the feeling doesn't just go away. You clean up the mess the thieves left, but every time you look at that empty space where your personal items once sat, it invokes the same sick feeling. The co-opting of the God Bullies name, seeing them promoting the Big Lion interviews, bragging about the new album, and how they're doing it to keep the spirit of David alive, well, that makes me feel pretty much the same way. Totally violated and sick to my stomach. I wasn't lucky enough to catch the thieves that broke into my home because they did it behind my back in the cover of darkness of the night when I was away. But to know the people I thought were my closest friends, who I always trusted and I once respected, choose to kick in my front door while I'm screaming, "Don't steal my music," but yet ignore everything and go right on stealing from me. I'm sorry, but that's just inexcusable. Well, I want to thank everybody for sticking around if you're still here. I want to say thank you to my friends and to the many true God Bully fans who have reached out to me privately in support of getting the truth out. They don't want to get caught up in the drama. Some folks saw the band years ago and don't really know me, and I don't really know them, but they still have reached out in support, and that really means a lot to me. So please check out the God Bully website, godbully.com. See the whole story there. There's a video, and we're going to be putting up some of those clips from the album that never happened. If you find this interesting, I ask that you please share it far and wide. I'm trying to get the word out to the unknowing God Bully fans so they know just exactly what's going on and just what's behind this fake album. I'm going to leave it at that. Peace. Sooner than later.